This game is still winnable. Follow you. Alright, I think we can still win this though. 30 seconds left. No one's dead. Yeah, we got this. We got this. We're gonna die. We're gonna die. Oh my god! Oh my god! That right there is a perfect example of how any game with Guest 666 goes. If you clicked on this video, then you know last week an update came out for Forsaken that introduced 2 new characters and some maps along with everyone's favorite, more skins. While we aren't here to talk about those other features, the 2 new release characters have been subject of many discussions. Like most games, the Forsaken community believes that any new character is OP on release, but how good or bad are these 2 new characters? The first thing I want to talk about is Guest 666. As the newest killer, you're going to see a lot of him, and that's a good and kind of a bad thing. While it may make some games stale since you'll just play against them back to back to back, it'll really help you adapt and know how to actually counterplay. His kit isn't anything too crazy, to be honest. First ability we got is a basic attack that hits all survivors like Slasher, and an enhanced version where if you hold it down and have 10 blood, it'll like lunge you forward and you'll hit him. This is pretty good, to be honest, since you can get 20 damage from regular hits and then 10 more with the enhanced one pretty fast, and that's a good chunk of their health, along with giving Hemorrhage, which is a new status effect exclusive to Guest. The blood part is also exclusive, but we'll talk about that more later. The ability also just got nerfed though, so if you miss, you gain slowness, which makes it I feel a lot more fair. The next ability is Demonic Pursuit, which is that grab attack you always see in all those videos. It's pretty straightforward and it feels nice to use. The only thing worth discussing is when in Blood Hunt it does more damage, but besides that, you know, it's a pretty balanced ability. I would say you fly up, you have to hit it. If they go behind a wall, you basically lose it, so there's nothing too crazy about that. Speaking of Blood Hunt mode, that brings us to our next move, which is his aura scanning ability. This ability reveals survivors' locations, and when maximum blood is obtained, Blood Hunt can be used, which pauses the timer, resets all cooldowns, blocks survivors' point of view, and amplifies damage. The move is what really makes the character, so we'll check about this later. The last ability Guest 666 has is a projectile that does no damage, but it helps in loops because they'll blind people and force them to look at them. When in Blood Hunt mode, the ability does 10 damage and gives Guest speed and strength for a couple seconds, and has a smaller hitbox by 10%. Now that we got all the abilities out of the way, I think it's time to get into if Guest 666 is really broken or are they balanced. So to get the elephant out of the room, Guest 666 size does play a lot into the game. As a killer, it's sometimes hard to actually see what's going on, and as a result you can fall for stuff or run into things you would normally catch, like running into tap traps or hitting a Guest block on accident. The size also makes it so looping is really effective against you, since the smaller the person, the tighter you can hug walls. While of course you can use your abilities to actually counter looping, like using the scream or actually try to jump over the wall that you're getting looped on, a good team can really make you struggle since you're gonna be on cooldown for most of the time and you don't really have an answer for all their abilities. A huge problem I have seen with people struggling is that Guest 666 is a snowball killer, meaning when they get a lead it's really hard to get some footing and fight back. When Blood Hunt is activated, if you manage to get a kill, then the timer goes back for it and you're stuck fighting for your life. This means if you have some people who have no idea how to play against Guest, the experience is going to be so much worse and feel like you have really no chance against them since they're going to be in their buff state the entire game. Guest abilities also seem pretty fair besides the scream, due to how you can't really dodge it and you more have to hope that the user just misses it. But the charge has a windup and can be countered by a good amount of abilities, and the aura reading just shows location, to be honest. The M1 and enhancement also does help when chasing, but since it costs blood and it slows you if you miss it, it's not something you can just throw around lightly. Guest 666 does have a huge issue though, which is Hemorrhage, and how in order to be healed from this effect, you need to click on a teammate and ask for help. While this doesn't seem too bad, console players physically cannot, and as a result are stuck with this the entire game. This means that they are not able to be healed from a certain amount of health, since Hemorrhage blocks how much you can be healed, and are constantly leaking blood for the Guest of Blood Hunt, which could just really mess up your team. Overall, in all honesty, Guest is pretty well balanced. I did not really see any changes needed to be implemented besides changing how to get healed for console players. If your team actually knows what Guest does, then you won't struggle too much, and it's really easy to hit stuns due to the massive size. If you are a competent player, you should be able to survive, and it'll be hard to actually get Blood Hunt in the first place against people who know what to do. The reason so many people believe Guess is so broken is because the lack of knowledge impacts how people play, and as I stated earlier, they are a snowball killer, so multiple people who don't really know what to do makes the experience impossible. As some months go by, people will realize that Guess 666 isn't that bad, and the real broken character of this update is Veronica. Veronica, where do I even start? I'll be honest with you, straight up, she's 100% broken. While her abilities may not directly show that with the stats, if you play a single match against a Veronica who knows what they're doing, it'll be brutal. If you like playing slasher, you might as well quit. If there's a Veronica, you have no way to actually fight against her besides hoping that she makes a mistake, since there is no counterplay you can physically do. Her first ability is Graffiti, which allows you to actually skate in the first place. This ability creates a giant box where you can use it and it goes through walls. The going through walls part is important and will be brought up later. A killer can destroy the graffiti by hitting it, but 3 can be placed at once. This recently got nerfed, but to be honest, it didn't really do anything besides stopping Veronicas from placing it in the same place, since if you do, they all get destroyed. But that was the only nerf it really got, and just slightly less health, which it should have had in the first place. The next ability is Skate, which just lets you get on your board and drive around, and when near a wall you could trick off of it to gain some stamina. While this doesn't seem too bad, this ability single-handedly is destroying killers and making them feel useless like Slasher. Before we get into why, the last 2 abilities really push it over the edge. This ability also got nerfed, but to be honest, it didn't really change it much and just kind of made you less fast when you're tricking. The next ability is called Broadcast and it has 3 different modes. Umber lets you knock a killer back at like a guest charge and it's kind of straightforward, and Phase lets you move through a killer and get crazy speed boosts, letting you out of any chase. The last form is Movement, which is a little underwhelming. It lets you curve better and jump better, but to be honest, it's that is until you meet a good Veronica player. The amount of tricks you're able to do and walls able to be set up on some maps just genuinely makes it impossible for a killer to get you. You can bounce off things that shouldn't even be possible, like invisible walls, and be able to keep going until you run out of stamina, and this leads to some situations where you can start getting chases and completely lose the killer with no counterplay possible for some like Cool Kid and Slasher, and then if they destroy the graffiti, you can put up another one by the time they're actually even caught up with you. The last ability we have is Battery, which just heals you 1 health for every 2%. You start off with 50% charge, but this actually just got nerfed, so now it's 30%, and you can get more from either doing gens or interacting with the killer. But recently it's also been nerfed so that the cooldown is longer from 55 to 75 seconds, and it's an alright nerf, I guess. For Graffiti, I'll be honest, it needs some nerfs. Even though it just got nerfed, the fact that it goes through walls leads to some spots where you could just skate and loop the killer, while the killer would have to go out of their way to destroy it, leaving you time to skate away, and by the time you're far enough and you'll have another graffiti already set up, continuing the cycle. The counterplay to this is you're supposed to be able to just destroy it and move on, but the amount of time it takes up to set up is so little that you'll be stuck in a constant losing race against them. This is also with the thought of just one Veronica, when in reality there could be even more, all gen rushing you while you struggle to find all these random graffiti spots. A good nerf for this ability would be either to make it so it takes longer to actually set up a graffiti, or make it so that it does not go through walls, because that really enables some crazy loops that shouldn't be possible. Skate is also a pretty broken ability that needs to be limited to the amount of times you can jump. Some spots you're able just to fly across the map with no chance for the killer, and while it may drain stamina faster than usual, the constant amount of tricks you could do just negates it. If the amount of tricks you could do was limited to 3 through 5 maybe, it could be a lot more manageable and would not make you instantly lose a chase if you're against a good Veronica. For the different forms, I would say Bumper is balanced since you get pushed off the board, except maybe it should ever push you farther than a guest push. Phase actually needs a slight nerf. Maybe Speed 2 or 3 would help since you gain so much distance sometimes. If the other abilities get nerfed, then I think Movement is fine since it only enables the crazy plays with skill, but if you have limited amount of jumps, then it won't really do much. The Battery ability is also pretty balanced since it cancels if you get hit, and it only can be filled if you're actually going for the killer or doing gens. which is a limited supply, and with the nerf it became even worse since you start off with 30% and the cooldown for it is giant. So I think that ability is in a pretty good spot. Overall, in all honesty, Guess 666 is the balanced character, even if it might not seem like it now. Veronica, on the other hand, straight up is changing how the game needs to be played, since you have to do so much extra things to even hope you have a chance. When you compare Veronica to other survivalists like N7 and Noob, they feel very underwhelming, since the amount of impact and chase time Veronicas can provide is unmatched. With all of this spoken about, I'm really curious what your thoughts on both these characters is. Leave me some comments about what you think, and like and sub if you want to see more from me next time. See ya! Bye!